Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
We have a podcast below in the description as well. Subscribe.
We're presented by our friends at Tito's Handmade Vodka.
#1 vodka in America, Tito's. Go make yourself a cocktail.
Feels like, to me, I think a big week for Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. This is still not a competition, but it's an opportunity against what should be a pretty good defense, I think, this year. And first and foremost, it's an opportunity against a different team.
It's starting to feel like it's going to be a difficult uphill climb for the young whippersnapper.
I put it in about
Trey Lance.
It feels right now like a 55. Sorry, let me go back the other way. It feels right now like an 80-20, maybe 85-15 Jimmy Garoppolo at this point.
Yeah, it felt like the preseason game went well for Jimmy in the sense that he made some poor mistakes. So it's an easy one for a coach to chalk up like, he's young, he needs some work, and he does. And as Mike McDaniel said a couple weeks ago, I watch a lot of coaching press conferences. I've never heard a coach say this, even though I know they're all thinking this. Like, we hope he kind of struggles so we can coach him through. Like, we want good and the bad.
Yeah.
And then when Kyle was asked, I don't even know if he knew Mike said that. He's like, we want him to do bad too. It's kind of weird, even though that's how you talk. You wouldn't want everything to go perfect. But I do think that helped Jimmy. And I think right now, this week could be huge, though. Like, you go up against big boy players. Bosa, Derwin James. I think the vibe and the environment there is going to be pretty raucous. It's going to be really intense. So if Trey struggles, honestly, it could set him back even more, just from the sense of he's playing. Like week one, if he doesn't start, which right now he would not, what would you set his over-under at? 7 plays?
That feels a little high, but yeah, I was going to say like 4.5. Like I could see him getting 5-6 snaps. 8 plays could be a lot, right? Depending on just how many possessions there are. But, you never know. It's the Lions. You could be up by 21 points. But I don't know if that's the spot to use him, right? I don't know if that's I don't envision him up 21 coming into the game. I envision him scoreless game, like second drive, 3rd and 3.
Yeah, and I could see if they were up big in like the second half, going into the fourth quarter, up 4 touchdowns, just letting him finish the game. Could you see that?
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's where that guy should play, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think you can kind of do double whammy. We've all watched just a lot of the Saints over the years. When they usually bring Taysom in, he does get a couple plays. Like, to me, typically when they yank Breeze out, he would get multiple plays. That's how I kind of envision them doing. Now, would they give him like a series? I don't think that's inconceivable that he just starts on first and 10, they run him out there. Because usually with Taysom Hill, he comes in like 2nd and 2, and then maybe they'll give him the next play. I guess Kyle would have the curveball of doing whatever he wanted, but it does feel like the quarterback, quote-unquote, competition, which he never really said that, is coming to a halt. Unless this week, and again, like there's still 3 more weeks of training camp. You're getting a joint practice. This is just a big week for Trey Lance. And Jimmy really just has to just keep doing what he's doing.
I view this as the week that Trey Lance has to make a move if he's going to have a shot. Because then there's one more preseason game. So if he's going to have any chance of – remember, it has to be a competition before it can even be him the starter, right? It has to be him. So he's got to play his way into getting more first-team reps, which would come the following week if he could make a move this week. So I think this is the week that Trey Lance – kind of makes her. If he's gonna do it by week 1, it has to happen starting Thursday against the Chargers because he's got to get the opportunity then the next week to force his way into more first team reps before the final preseason game.
Well, that preseason game, the 3rd game, Kyle claimed that his starters are going to play a half. So does he move Trey in that game like as he would in a regular game? Like does he just come in the 3rd series to play a couple plays, or does Jimmy just get the whole thing? That to me will be fascinating to watch. Sneaky. Could be pretty unreal if the Raiders and Niners both play their starters for a half. Like, we get half a real game. That'd be fun. I got that bad boy marked.
Does it feel like Jimmy would really play that much? It feels to me like a Mahomes situation where like starters are going to play a half, and then you look over and Mahomes has the visor on after one series.
Yeah, why would he say that though? I don't know. Yeah. I mean,
John, let's tell the people about our friends at DraftKings. Promo code HAM.
Daily fantasy, baby. Download the DraftKings app. Use the promo code HAM. Get in our league. You can find it below in the description. DraftKings, download the app, promo code HAM. I think it was more Andy the first preseason game, it was so meaningless. The Niners aren't playing anyone. It's like, what are we doing this for? But if the other team's playing your starters and you have it in your mind to play your starters, I think you leave them out there. Now, I haven't seen Gruden. Gruden didn't play anybody. Maybe they won't play Derek Carr at all. I do think it's difficult to justify playing your guys, even if you say it, when you're fucking playing these teams that they're all on the sideline. You're like, what are we proving here?
Right.
And Johnny Tryhard, as McCarthy would say, is coming around the edge. Like, I'm not doing
But it's like, I don't want him out there with Joey Bosa out there, and I don't want him out there without Joey Bosa out there. I mean Joey, not Nick. I'm talking Joey, right? If you're Garoppolo, you need to be out there for 4 series against the Raiders.
Brandon Staley just played nobody. Do you think they're going to play anyone this week? I would guess no.
No, this is why you told me, I didn't hear this comment, but that Kyle Shanahan said in some ways the scrimmages are more important or more valuable than the games.
Well, they definitely are, right, if they're not going to play their starters, even if you plan on it, right? Like, we want to give our guys a quarter. Well, Bosa, Derwin James, Kenneth Murray, all their starters, not Josh Rosen, Justin Herbert, wrong Pac-12 quarterback for sure. Why am I going to play my guy? I think that does have a major impact in these preseason games. It's why someone DM'd me. They're like, if you were trying to make a team, would you rather, if you were a fringe guy, would you rather play for a team that you only got reps in practice, they didn't really play in the game, or would you rather be hit or miss in practice but get a lot of reps in the game? I'd say if I was a fringe guy, I would much rather play multiple games because all 31 teams are evaluating me. Like the practice, so much of it's out of your control, a numbers game. Even if you're playing well, it's easy for them to justify cutting someone. Where when you play well in a game, it is going to be hard for these other teams not to see you.
Yeah.
Where I think these teams now that are benching their quote unquote starters, I think it's less about the worry of schematic stuff. I think it's just strictly injury, don't you? Like, I don't think they're afraid to show anything. It's just like, we are not risking Matt Stafford or Devontae Adams or Joey Bosa. No chance someone's stepping on his foot the wrong way. And that, like, fuck that.
Yep.
Then, like, I don't want to see this new twist concept we have. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the practices have gotten I think the practices have gotten just less valuable, right? The reward it's gotten to a point it's not worth the risk at all. The risk has gotten bigger, but the reward has also gotten lower.
Yeah.
So, I think what we've got from a Shanahan standpoint is he just has a luxury, and Trey Lance is going to have to force him not to take advantage of the luxury, which is I don't have to start Trey Lance, right? In the way that the Jets have to start Zach Wilson. But they just don't have to. So they're going to make him take it. And he had some I thought he did some things that looked pretty impressive in the game. You could play him right. Like you could play Trey Lance right now and have a shot to win, I believe. But
100%.
Like that's not the question here. The question is, can he take it from Jimmy? And I go back. I'll repeat it again. I think Kyle Shanahan is willing to let Trey Lance do that, but he's got to go do it, and he's got to kind of bang him over the head with it. And now again, if he does some things against the Chargers this week, that'll count. Like this counts as banging you over the head with it. If he does things well and Jimmy Garoppolo struggles this week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my stance is going to be consistent this whole time. I'm not going to budge off that I would start him because that's just my overwhelming philosophy with young elite talents. I mean, it's pretty clear that I think Mac Jones might end up beating out Cam. Justin Fields, they're just rigging the game. Like, he easily could beat him out, and the other two guys are starting. Just because it's so much easier by the middle of the season when that guy has a group, basically a handful of games, 3 games, 7 games, 10 games, whatever to rely on to go, that's what I need to work on. That's what I've seen here. That's what needs to happen here. When you first get thrown out there, it's no different than any walk of life. The first time you get a job that has a lot of pressure, that's really intense, those first weeks, those first maybe month can feel overwhelming. And then we all know, looking back, like once we've been in a place 6 months, your feet are on the desk, you're like, know exactly where to get lunch. It just becomes much more normal protocol. And we're talking about the NFL playing fucking quarterback. It is just in a weird way, easier is the wrong word, but you can just be more comfortable. Eventually, he's going to have to start his first game. He just is, right? And if that has to happen year 2, even if they have a really good season, let's say win a couple playoff games, listen, you and me won't be complaining It'll be great for our fucking business. Jimmy starts all the games. They win a bunch of games. They go to the playoffs. Like, that's fine. But from a football standpoint, in a vacuum, an underrated part about Patrick Mahomes is he did get a full game rep. I mean, legitimately a full game against the Broncos, and they tried. So he did start year 2, but he did have a full game.
Oh,
I'm
week
talking
17.
about Mahomes, sitting out that year.
You're talking about his week 17 game? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and they were already going to the playoffs. And remember, Andy said that I told Nagy, and I think Doug was gone, but whoever, Childress, you guys start working on the Titans, and me and Mahomes are just going to treat this thing like a regular game. And we did. And he's like, I got a lot more comfortable with them. Now, they had gone, I would say that situation gets brought up all the time. They were dead set. Like, in concrete, they weren't going to budge, right, off Alex Smith. And then he had a great year.
Yeah, I mean, so Alex made it. Alex, played a full season, too. That's not been Jimmy Garoppolo's history. They had a choice.
The other thing is Mahomes isn't necessarily like a runner, so you wouldn't bring him in for packages to run like you would Trey Lance. So he was never.
Which also was not part of the resume in the preseason game.
But you could ask the question, and we'll never know. Like, what if he had started year 1? Would they have been better by the end of the year? Right? They did lose in the first round to Mariota.
Yeah.
Mariota
could they have won that game? Now, maybe maybe you go by the end of the year they could have won that playoff game, but maybe they lose a few games along the way during the regular season that their record is not what it was at the end of that year.
There's a give and take with everything.
Here's what I know about the Niners. They cannot lose to the Lions week 1, and they cannot lose to the Eagles week 2.
Actually, I think the Eagles are a little better than I think people assume. Just their talent on their team. Just talking to people with the organization. Their lines are good. They feel very good about their lines, offensive and defensive lines. They do have, listen, I don't know if Jalen Reagor is going to be a good player or not. He was drafted in the first round. He does some sweet shit on the internet. They did draft Devontae Smith, who I don't know won the Heisman, and they got 2 legit tight ends. And Miles Sanders was a second-round running back. Like, for a team that I think most people just think they're a 5-win team, and it might be because they're quarterback, they do have a lot of just good players, To me, they're on I think, and I've done this too, we put them in the Lions as equals.
Well, it's because of the coach.
Much more talented than the Lions.
Right. It's because of Sirianni.
True. But we'll see. I don't.
No, I mean, I'm just saying that's the perception. Sirianni in the Dan Campbell category as a press conference when he got introduced, it made people go, what?
He gets excited.
Doesn't mean he can't be a head coach. But I'm not a fan of their quarterback situation at all.
I'm not either.
But Jalen Hurts might be a bigger problem for the Niners than Jared Goff because everyone's a bigger problem than Jared Goff for them, right?
Yeah, Jalen can move.